New York City has a unique food culture that is not found anywhere else in the world. The city has a diverse population, and it is home to many different cuisines, which makes it a perfect place for people who love to eat. It is the birthplace of many iconic dishes and restaurants. It has a wide variety of restaurants that offer food from all over the world. NYC is home to some of the best restaurants in the world, but it also has some hidden gems that you can only find here. The city's food culture has been shaped by immigrants from all over the world, who have brought their own traditions with them. This diversity of cultures and cuisines has made New York City one of the most exciting places to visit in the world. Here are some foods you must try when you visit New York City. At number 10, we have the cream cheese bagel sandwich. It is a famous New York City staple. It has been around since the early 1900s and has been serving up delicious cream cheese bagels for over 100 years, which makes it a popular breakfast item in New York City. Most commonly served open-faced, sliced horizontally, and spread with cream cheese in the center. Bagels, unlike large and hard rolls, were also portable and easy to eat when they came out of the oven. The bagels were made with cream cheese and lox, which is cured salmon, and they were served with capers, onions, and tomatoes. The cream cheese bagels are now sold at many different locations throughout New York City, including bodegas, delis, bakeries, and grocery stores. At number 9, we take a look at black and white cookies. Thought to have been created by the bakery that opened in 1902, Glazer's Bake Shop, in Manhattan, which was started by Bavarian immigrants. The cookie traces its origins back to an early to mid-19th century German food tradition. In the 1940s and 1950s, the black and white cookies became popular. The cookie was introduced to the U.S. by American soldiers during and after World War II. The black and white cookie is a New York City specialty that is made with chocolate and vanilla dough, cut into squares, and then dipped in chocolate icing. You can find black and white cookies in restaurants all over New York. Some popular places that serves black and white cookies are Russ and Daughters, Glazer's Bakery, and Joyce Bake Shop, all located in New York City. At number 8, we take a look at the Sussman Volk pastrami sandwich, which was created by the Jewish-German immigrant Sussman Volk in the early 1900s. He was a butcher who sold his meat from a push cart on the Lower East Side of Manhattan. The history of the pastrami sandwich in New York City is a long and interesting one. It has been around for over 100 years and has evolved from a simple sandwich to a delicacy. The first mention of the sandwich was in 1894, when it was mentioned in an article about Jewish delicatessens. The article stated that the sandwich was made with pastrami beef, Swiss cheese, and Russian dressing on rye bread. In 1905, the first pastrami sandwich shop opened up on Delancey Street in New York City. The shop was called Katz's Delicatessen, and it became famous for its pastrami sandwiches, which were served with mustard, sauerkraut, and Thousand Island dressing on rye bread. A good place to find a pastrami sandwich in New York City is Katz's Delicatessen. Katz's Delicatessen is the oldest deli in the United States, and it has been around since 1888. At number 7, we have the General Tso Chicken, which was created by Chef Peng Chang Kue in Taiwan in the 1950s. He was the chef for the Chinese nationalist government, and he fled to New York City after the communist takeover of China. He opened a restaurant called Peng's Kitchen, which served dishes from his homeland. One day, he decided to create a dish that would be more appealing to Americans, and came up with General Tso Chicken. It is traditionally prepared with chunks of chicken, deep-fried and coated in a sauce made from soy sauce, rice wine, sugar, water, garlic and chili peppers. It has become popular in New York City, and has been spreading to other locations all over America. This dish can be found in various restaurants across the city. At 6, we take a look at the popular chopped cheese sandwich. Made of brown seasoned ground beef chopped up on a grill with onions and peppers. It's then coated in melted cheese, and tucked into a toasted hero, or bun, where it's dressed with lettuce, tomato, more onion, and a generous lathering of mayonnaise and ketchup. It's unclear where chopped cheese originated from, but it is most likely from Carlos Odo from East Harlem Deli Blue Sky, locally known as Hadji's, who has created a dish as iconic in New York City. This famous sandwich allegedly became famous among teenagers in Harlem and the Bronx. They were the first ones to start it, and spread its popularity to the masses. Always a cheap option, it's a filling and affordable. The chopped cheese sandwich is a New York City staple, and another great example of the iconic diversity of the city. There are many places in New York City where you can find the sandwich. We head to number 5, where the history of hot dogs in NYC is a long and complicated one. The first hot dog stand was located in Coney Island. It was opened by Charles Feltman in 1867. He was the first person to serve sausages in rolls, which he called dash and sandwiches. In 1871, Nathan Handwerker opened his own hot dog stand on Coney Island. He sold his hot dogs for 5 cents each, and became so successful that he eventually opened up a chain of restaurants called Nathan's Famous Hot Dogs. In New York City, there are many places to get hot dogs. Some people prefer to go to the original Nathan's Famous Hot Dogs on Coney Island, or Gray's Papaya on the Upper East Side. Others like to go to Katz's Deli or Papaya King for their hot dogs. At number 4, we take a look at halal street food. It is alleged that the Halal Guys was the first of its kind, starting out as a hot dog cart in New York City during the 90s. As early as 2007, halal carts had already begun displacing hot dog carts as the city's dominant form of street food. Halal food carts have been around for decades, but they have recently become more popular due to the rise of social media and online platforms, and due to their convenience and affordability. They offer a variety of dishes that cater to different tastes and dietary restrictions. There are many halal food carts in the city. It is very easy to find them. The most popular halal food cart in New York City is the Halal Guys, located in different parts of New York City. We take a look at number 3, the New York Cheesecake. Invented by Arnold Rubin and is credited to him. It has been a popular dessert for almost 100 years. It was a favorite among actors and actresses staying late at work and looking for something to indulge in. In the 1950s, Junior's opened in Brooklyn and has been the king of New York cheesecake ever since. Cheesecake became popular in New York City because of its rich and creamy texture, which is different from other desserts. It also became popular because it was easy to make and could be stored for a long time without spoiling. There are many places to get cheesecake from in New York City. Some popular places to get a cheesecake is Junior's Cheesecake and Magnolia Bakery in New York City. At number 2, we take a look at pizza, which was introduced to America by Italian immigrants who brought their recipes with them. The first pizzeria in Little Italy, New York 1905, was opened by Mr. Lombardi and his wife Maria, on the corner of Spring Street and Prince Street. The history of pizza in New York City is a long and interesting one. Pizza is famous because it's cheap, delicious, and available 24 hours a day. It's also a cultural icon that represents New York City to the world. New York City is a city that has a lot of pizza options. Some popular pizza restaurants include Joe's Pizza, Grimaldi's, John's Pizza, Patsy's Pizzeria, and Di Fara's Pizza. Last but not least, at number 1, we take a look at the history of Cronuts in New York City. A story of how one pastry became a global phenomenon. In the early 2000s, Chef Dominique Ansel was working as the executive pastry chef at Daniel, a 3-star Michelin restaurant in New York City. He had been experimenting with donuts and croissant dough for years, but he never found the perfect balance between the two. One day, he decided to try making donut-croissant hybrids, and called them Cronuts. The cronut became famous in New York City because it was the first time that people had seen this type of pastry. It became so popular that people would line up for hours just to get one. Cronuts can be found at Dominique Ansel Bakery in New York City. They can also be found at other bakeries around the world, such as in London and Tokyo. New York City is a city that is constantly changing. It has been the center of many different cultures and people from all over the world. This diversity has made New York City one of the most interesting cities in the world. Many dishes is an important part of New York City culture, and it plays a big role in how people live their lives. All popular foods on our list can be found everywhere, from street vendors, to restaurants to grocery stores. Thanks for watching. Please like, subscribe, and share.